Thanks for logging on to MyFoxHurricane.com. So here are some of the numbers that we are starting to compile as far as the winds are concerned with Hurricane Ian. As we get more information in, some of these numbers will be adjusted, but really the picture that we are starting to see right now is absolute devastation, where we saw Hurricane Ian make landfall down across down towards Fort Myers, Boca Grande, Sanibel, all these areas being hit extremely hard. But what really jumps out at you, that wind gust, Cape Coral 140 miles an hour. And really, one of the important things to really remember about this, these were not just momentary gusts in many of these spots, because that eye wall was slowly working its way on shore. And that's where you saw those strongest winds with this. So we saw some of these areas down near Sanibel, up towards Punta Gorda, where they were in that eye wall for a long period of time. So as we get more and more pictures and get more of an idea of just how bad the damage is, we're all going to really realize how bad things really are down that direction. Now, on top of that, just all the rainfall, all the rain that came from this. And you know, we were talking for several days beforehand that we were going to see these rainfall amounts, 16, 18 inches of rain. We could see some areas up to 24 inches of rain. And it just seemed unimaginable to be talking about that. It just almost seemed like, some kind of doomsday idea that was just far-fetched. And unfortunately, we were seeing numbers like that. The models really kind of bared out what we saw or what we expected to see. So all that rain, it's got to go somewhere. It drains into the rivers and floods areas, and you're seeing every one of the rivers above flood stage, and not only above flood stage, well above flood stage. Many of these rivers will continue to rise. Some of them will crest as we go through the weekend and the first part of next week. But you can see places like the Peace River at Zolfo Springs. You're talking 25 feet. So you can see how far that is above flood stage. Massive flooding. And look at some of these rainfall totals down across central and southern Sarasota, down into Charlotte County, near Punta Gorda, Port Charlotte, over towards Boca Grande. We're looking at rainfall amounts 22.5 inches on radar estimates, and that's just where you just kind of pick a few spots there. So quite certainly we are seeing some areas that could have gotten even more than that. And you can really tell that path of the hurricane and that core, where it made its way through. And you see even over into southern Polk County, northern Highlands County, you're looking at some of these rainfall totals, 14, 15, 16 inches. There you see just south of Fort Meade, basically you're talking 20 inches of rain as this worked its way through. As that slower motion with this, that's what really determines the rainfall, because if you could have the same exact powerful hurricane, but if it came swinging through here at 15, 20 miles an hour, the rainfall amounts would not have been nearly as much. So right now, we are still talking about Ian, tropical storm right now. Winds are at 70 miles an hour. It's moving to the northeast at 9 miles an hour. Now working its way back over the water. There's warm water over just off the east coast as well. And so the concern is that this is going to re-intensify once again, and that's the official forecast, back into a hurricane, and then headed right up towards South Carolina and make yet another landfall up in that direction. And then it will finally weaken, but not before it brings a lot of rain across the Carolinas, up into Virginia, up into some very mountainous areas. And you know what's going to happen with that? That is going to cause all kinds of torrential rain and flash flooding up in this area, up into the mountains as well. But really, we start to turn our attention down along the coastline of South Carolina, as they are now preparing for, it looks like, Hurricane Ian quite possibly to be heading in their direction. There you see it on the Fox model, and then all that rain that just rains itself out across the mountains, heading up Virginia, up into Maryland, up into Pennsylvania, portions of Ohio, and West Virginia as well. So obviously a lot to digest over the next several days. We're going to keep you updated right here on MyFoxHurricane.com.